Duran Duran epitomized the sleek, fashionable side of new wave, specializing in danceable, synthesized pop delivered with visual flair, a talent crystallized in a series of groundbreaking music videos from the early 1980s. The group had the good fortune to deliver their debut album in 1981, the same year MTV began broadcasting, and their success was intertwined. Duran Duran gave the network clever, cinematic clips for Rio and Hungry Like the Wolf, which MTV played ceaselessly, helping to turn the Birmingham, England-based band into global superstars. Between 1982 and 1985, they were fixtures on the British and American charts, with Is There Something I Should Know, Union of the Snake, The Wild Boys and the James Bond theme A View to a Kill reaching the top 10 on both sides of the Atlantic. However, here are the facts about Durian. Nick Rhodes' marriage fell apart. According to John Taylor's In the Pleasure Groove Love, Death, and Duran Duran, the band's founder and keyboardist Nick Rhodes met Julie Ann Friedman on a boat trip around Santa Monica. They became inseparable after that encounter, and they married in 1984. John described their wedding, held at the Savoy Hotel in London, as a pop culture sensation, and it was eagerly devoured by the press. Friedman's presence in Rhodes' life, or rather, her presence among Duran Duran, didn't sit well with everyone. In his memoir Wild Boy My Life with Duran Duran, Andy Taylor notes that he and Rhodes regularly clashed and that Friedman also didn't get on well with him, but Rhodes and Friedman increasingly didn't get on with one another. In an excerpt published in the Evening Standard, Andy recalled an incident at the Plaza Athénée when Friedman locked Rhodes out of their room and began screaming on the balcony, to the point people worried she might fall. The fire brigade was called to talk her down. The couple divorced in 1992. The Daily Mail claimed that it was a contentious split, with fights over the custody of their daughter Tatiana and their art collection. Rhodes received custody of Tajana and most of the pieces, but Friedman kept a painting by Andy Warhol, given to the couple on their wedding day. Andy Taylor's mother abandoned the family. For Andy Taylor, some tragedies and unhappy times predated the experience of Duran Duran. Childhood was when he discovered music. His earliest memory, he told the Scotsman, is of finding his father Ronnie's guitar in the wardrobe. He passed pleasant days learning the instrument from a neighbor while growing up with his mother and father, but this idyllic childhood was thrown a curveball in 1972. In his memoir, Andy says that he can't remember the last words his mother spoke to him or any sign that something was amiss. All he remembers is coming home from a good day at school to find that his mother was gone. His father had no idea where she was when young Andy called to ask. They discovered that all her possessions, and the family suitcases, were gone too. She'd packed up and left without a word. Ronnie Taylor was hard hit by his wife's abandonment. He turned to his mother to help raise the children, and Andy became close to them both. He cited the grief at his father's death from cancer as a factor in leaving Duran Duran a second time in the early 2000s. As for his mother, Andy wouldn't hear from her for 4 years. They briefly met when Duran Duran performed for a 1983 charity concert, but they don't maintain contact. The band was attacked in Munich. Not all the attention received by pop and rock stars is positive. There are entitled, obsessive or otherwise badly behaved fans, hangers-on and hucksters, tabloid press looking for salacious gossip, and pushers and enablers of bad habits, but Duran Duran had the unique experience of facing assailants in the 1980s. While in Munich on tour in 1982, according to Andy Taylor, John and Roger Taylor met up with English singer Bryan Ferry at a club. What was a pleasant evening took a dark turn when a group of men with baseball bats rushed the musicians. Roger and a security guard were severely injured by the attack. John said in his own memoir that he was so high on drugs that he can't remember much of that night, but does remember seeing Roger covered in blood after a trip to the hospital. In a fit of jealous rage, John punched his right hand through a light fixture. Andy told the Scotsman years later that Duran Duran was so unnerved by the attack that they left Germany the day after. With their drummer and bassist too badly injured to play, they needed to cancel the remaining dates of their tour until replacements could be arranged. John Taylor nearly lost his foot thanks to drug use. Excessive drug use made Duran Duran guitarist Andy Taylor disillusioned with the music star life, and he left the band in the mid-1980s. For bassist John Taylor, the road out of drug addiction would be longer and more violent. Andy wrote that John's cocaine habit led him to make brash remarks to film producers, and to fall to pieces after making a spectacle of himself in front of the Rolling Stones. But a more serious incident, recalled by Andy in his memoir, occurred when John, drunk on vodka and probably high on cocaine, nearly lost his foot after dancing on a broken bottle. Slicing his foot open wasn't a wake-up call for John. He had his own chance to recount his drug experiences with his own memoir in 2012, though he told The Hollywood Reporter that he hadn't looked to Andy for a guide on how to discuss their mutual bad habits. John said that recalling his addictions was the most difficult part of writing the book and that it wasn't a tell-all. Does touch on John's journey to recovery and his struggles to maintain it. Duran Duran's reuniting in the early 2000s posed a particular challenge as old tensions revived, but as of 2012 John was 18 years sober. Cocaine destabilized band. Duran Duran was not sold to the public as wild rock and rollers. Their image, as guitarist Andy Taylor recalled for the Evening Standard, was of clean-living pop stars. That image was shattered in 1984 when the British tabloids published an exposé on the prodigious use of cocaine by various members. A former doorman to the Rum Runner Club where Duran Duran first came together betrayed their confidence and wrote an eyewitness account of the band's wild, drug-fueled behavior at a Christmas party. The only member not castigated was Roger Taylor, who didn't partake. While the story broke in a tawdry and backstabbing way, Duran Duran's struggles with drugs were real. Andy wrote that he and John Taylor were the biggest users of the group. The hectic work schedule demanded by the band's record company was rough on them, and cocaine initially helped fuel them through the workload. John was probably under the influence when he established contact with Cubby Broccoli, producer of the James Bond series, leading to Duran Duran performing the title song for A View to a Kill. But by the mid-1980s, cocaine began fraying Andy's nerves and affecting his temper with fans and bandmates. Coinciding with a split within Duran Duran over rival side projects, the escalating drug use only worsened the divide. A cascade of embarrassing incidents made Andy question his lifestyle, and he left Duran Duran after filming the music video for the Bond song.